Organizers say with more than 7 million people gathered at nearly 3,000 events across the country over the weekend for the so-called No Kings rallies in a largely peaceful show of force against the Trump administration's policies. That is 2 million more people than the first No Kings Day back in June. Protesters flooded the streets, squares, and parks in both big cities and small towns, chanting "No Kings in America" and carrying signs with slogans like "Democracy, not monarchy" and "Make America Good Again." In Boston, organizers say more than 100,000 rallygoers convened at the historic Boston Common, America's oldest park. In Washington, D.C., protesters, including federal employees, filled the streets near the U.S. Capitol as the government remains shut down. In New York City, people stretched for many blocks with rallies spanning across all 5 boroughs. The protests were overwhelmingly peaceful, with many participants wearing costumes, waving American flags, and dancing, despite Republicans referring to the events as Hate America rallies in recent days. Many elected officials and public figures joined protesters at the rallies, slamming the Trump administration and celebrating the day's events.
Tyranny requires your fear, your silence, and your compliance. Democracy requires your courage. And tyranny depends on good people doing nothing. It requires us to accept the unacceptable, to rationalize the irrational, to normalize the abnormal. But tyranny also fails when ordinary people refuse to cooperate, when they say no kings and they mean it.
Mike Johnson, the Republican Speaker of the House, called these rallies Hate America events. Boy, does he have it wrong. Millions of Americans are coming out today not because they hate America. We're here because we love America.
Joe, that's the point a lot of protesters were making, because I think that the key takeaway from the weekend is how peaceful these were, making exactly the point Bernie Sanders was talking about.
Well, people were out on a Saturday instead of watching Alabama Crimson Tide roll. I mean, that was quite a sacrifice. People were out on a Saturday because they love America, because they love this country, they love the Constitution. They have a different view of America than, say, maybe some people who are in the MAGA movement. But even the MAGA movement is divided right now over getting health care to working Americans and stopping billionaires from getting all of these tax cuts. So there's a big divide on issues. But David Ignatius, one of the things we've been around long enough to know, and we this is not the first time people have tried to do things like this, but we've been around long enough to know that it's just. It's a very sad thing when you have one party that says, agree with us on everything, or you hate America. And so when you have the Speaker of the House and people at the White House saying, oh, these people hate America, their base is Hamas, their base, are flag burning Haiti. As Jonathan Martin said the other day, you look at that crowd, there are an awful lot of NPR tote bag grandmas in that crowd. And really, for those who say, for those in the MAGA community that says, oh, no, we're not a cult, we're not a cult. I mean, can you imagine? They strip it down to loving America or hating America based on who you vote for. And so since a lot of these people didn't vote for Donald Trump, then the Speaker of the House and the Majority Whip, I believe, also said that since all these people are not in the MAGA movement, they hate America. Not they must hate America, they might hate America. they're saying that these people that are getting out on Saturday to defend what they believe is best in America must hate America. You know, Bill Clinton didn't say that when we got out for the Million Man March, or the religious march. I forget what back in '95, and certainly Barack Obama didn't say that when there are pro-life marches out there. You know, there are people that believe in things and they get out and march. The Tea Party marches. I didn't hear Barack Obama saying, "Oh, these people hate America." It's the First Amendment. It's okay. And Mike Johnson, I really hope he sees the error in his way, because, you know, these are the same people who freaked out when Hillary Clinton called Republicans, half of them, deplorables. And they melted down for like 6 years. Now Republicans are just coming out saying these people who are protesting, like just like they protest, hate America. I mean, talk about that, and we got to pull back from that.
You know, I think you described this exactly right. The Republicans have tried to describe people who disagree with their policies with the very disruptive agenda that the MAGA movement and President Trump have had. That those people hate America. They're not protesting the authoritarian policies or some of the immigration policies. They hate America, and maybe that's a sign that they're nervous. To use that kind of extreme rhetoric is a sign that you feel you have to characterize the opposition in a different way. But it was striking from all the footage I could see. These were ordinary folks. They were determined to be peaceful, to carrying flags, talking about their love of the country, not their hatred of it. And I think it's indicative of finally Democrats and critics of Trump beginning to be able to articulate what it is that they're angry about. It's, you know, people say, what's the Democrats' agenda? If you say our agenda is no kings, that's pretty limited. That's a good start, though. And it did seem to bring people in the streets in a friendly way. Not again, the characterization was, this is Antifa. These are people who mean to do violence and harm. They hate the country. Look at the pictures. I mean, these are pretty ordinary folks. And I think that's really the message from Saturday.
Look at Grandma. I mean, come on. And they have IKEA on their posters. Mika, this is not a frightening crowd.
No, not at all.